Welcome to Sports.
Hey, the noise. Oh, look at this.
Michelle Marcellus, the host of I Am Rappaport podcast. Michael Rappaport is here.
Yeah.
Also, All-Pro Sean Merriman is here. More importantly, why are you wearing a button-down?
Look, it was a challenge. Someone said that I couldn't go on the show without a V-neck on, so I'm trying to win that bet.
What kind of bet are we looking at?
Oh, well, we're also we're adding that with the fact that my contract's up at the end of the month. So
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Pay this man. Pay this man.
Well done. We're going to start today with chasing Jordan. Did you already grunt? Okay. LeBron delivered the elusive title to the city of Cleveland, and for his next act, he's going full Ghostbuster. That's right. He's got his sights set on passing. That's amazing. Passing the ghost of Michael Jordan, becoming the greatest player of all time. In a Sports Illustrated piece by Lee Jenkins, LeBron says, quote, "My motivation is this ghost I'm chasing. The ghost played in Chicago. I think it's cool to put myself in position to be one of those great players. But if I can ever put myself in position to be the greatest player, that would be something extraordinary."
Yo.
Yeah, I'm not even.
Oh, here we go. Come on.
Yo,
man.
you ain't Jordan, Duke, okay? You wasn't Jordan the first time you lost the final.
True.
You wasn't Jordan the second time you lost the final. And you wasn't Jordan when you started losing your hair, okay? Jordan made losing hair dope.
He
made it cool.
He made it cool.
You are making it a slow, painful, romantic comedy that I want to end.
Wow.
Okay, Jordan's kicks are stylish. You can rock them when you're not playing ball. LeBron, your kicks look like moon boots. The reason why you're never going to be Jordan is because you keep talking about Jordan. Jordan wasn't talking about anybody except for being the best. You're fantastic. Be the best LeBron. You ain't Jordan. That's just the way it is. And that's okay. Yeah, I'd like to be a great LeBron.
You guys act like the door is closed and this argument is cemented. No, it's not.
He's going to win the next 5 titles in a row.
I can tell you that. I'm glad
in every city he plays in.
I'm glad you brought up titles because there are ways that LeBron Jordan could actually equate or actually surpass one Michael Jordan.
Break it down.
Let's go right here.
Oh, okay.
Let's look at the major categories that we grade NBA greatness on, and that's rings, points, and MVPs. Let's not compare LeBron to Jordan just yet because his chapter is not finished. The book is not closed. Let's compare Michael Jordan to the all-time greats because everyone says he's the GOAT, right? Does he have the most rings? No. Does he have the most MVPs? No. Does he have the most points? No. So there is a way to catch the guy who has never been all-time best in any of the major categories we established greatness on. That's where LeBron fills out his argument of being well-rounded, being in the future, top 10 in scoring and assists, top 3 some project, and no other player in NBA history has been there. That's where he goes.
Those are a lot of numbers. Those are a lot of numbers. I don't know if you got that written down or not, but I don't have those same numbers. I know this. At the end of the day, if you love Michael Jordan and you're a Michael Jordan fan, I don't care how many rings LeBron James have. You're still going to always say Michael Jordan is the best.
Well, that's
no matter what. No matter what. I think right now, LeBron could be considered the best in other categories. Maybe not how Jordan looked at, but at the same time, I think LeBron James is the best now.
He's the best.
But people will never say that because it's just this thing about LeBron that people just love to hate on, and I don't know what it is, but LeBron could be the best LeBron now, and Michael Jordan will always be Michael Jordan. And whoever eyes it is, you will just never compare him to Michael Jordan.
But the reason why is because he keeps bringing it up. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. No one asked him, Jordan. He controls the interview. Don't talk about Jordan. He could have said, I don't want to talk about Jordan.
That's not fair. That's not fair because LeBron James just did something that Jordan never did in his finals career, which is have a dramatic story moment where you beat the best team in regular season history down 3-1 for your home city and state. Jordan doesn't even have that on his niche.
They only went to 6 games. He shut it down at 6.
But in respect, that's how LeBron catches him because he has more of a compelling argument with the numbers to support his greatness.
I totally understand. I'm just saying for LeBron, stop talking about Jordan, my man. It ain't happening. It's over, okay? Your dome piece isn't as dope as Jordan.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
He's a fantastic Jordan.
As a former player, I always hated to be compared to somebody. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me that LeBron keeps comparing himself to anybody else because I think in all of our eyes, LeBron James, you were the best that a lot of us have seen to the day.
Man, you had an idol growing up. Don't do that.
No, I had an idol. You know what? And when my first 3 years, they compared me to Junior Seau, and I was like, please don't do that. I don't want to ever be because you can it'll be another Junior Seau.
You might want to save this because we have Brock Osweiler in the next segment, and that's sort of what we're going
That's a big jump.
We got a little Warriors in here. The greatest obstacle right now in LeBron's quest for more rings has to be the Warriors. Among Golden State's newly minted Big Four, Klay Thompson's name is the one that repeatedly comes up when talking reduced roles. While talk of sacrifice seems natural, it doesn't seem to be a word that sits well with Mr. Thompson, who told The Vertical, quote, I feel kind of disrespected that people keep using the term sacrifice to describe me and describe us. But I'm not sacrificing because my game isn't
what does that beep
changing.
mean?
I think it was poo.
That beep?
I believe it was poo.
Number two.
Yeah.
Number two.
Okay.
Okay, he's on a team, and he's saying he's not sacrificing anything. You have a problem with that?
I have no problem at all with that. I'm glad that...
In August, he's saying it.
I'm glad he's saying it, because...
All right.
Oh, excuse you, Sean Merriman. You want to go somewhere?
No.
We can do this. He looked at me like I stole something. Look.
Why are you saying it publicly? That's my only problem. Why are you saying it publicly, knowing that as soon as people come into the season, we've already got controversy? If you feel that way, keep it to yourself. And trust me, the ball ain't the only thing he's going to be sharing. He's going to be sharing the camera action, the PR. He's going to be sharing the star role.
I don't know how far you're going to dig this hole, because I can't get you out of it, brother. Klay Thompson is a historian of the game. He just repeated what anyone who watches basketball already knows. Let's go back to the first super team that I witnessed. In the 80s, Showtime Lakers, when you got Magic, Kareem, Byron Scott, and James Worthy. And excuse me, I don't think I saw much of sacrificing from any of those guys. Those guys all got their shots. They all got their shine. They all got their titles.
That team was bred.
No, but you know what? It's not all bred, because you talk about the fact that they added guys like a Michael Thompson, and they added #1 overall picks. They added Jamal Wilkes. They had enough presence and chemistry to respect that the guy with the open shot is the guy who's going to take the shot. That's what Klay Thompson's talking about.
Hey, listen. Kevin Durant in OKC, he was the last person named coming off the bench. That's what always the biggest star. Now that's over, my man. You might not even be the second to last dude. That's a sacrifice.
That's all right.
Okay, and everybody thinks that they're going to get together and everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Yeah, I'm with you
There's
on
a
this.
learning curve for every team.
There's gonna be a minute.
And bringing it back to LeBron James, Kevin Durant, the reason why he's doing this is because LeBron James, who ain't Jordan, set this friends and family tone up. He invented this playbook, and Kevin Durant made the fault. I think he made a mistake by following your guys' playbook.
But, look, here's what I understand. Why are you saying this in August when you know that the game is going to change a little bit? Your team's play is going to change a little bit. And when it does, we're all going to be like, well, you're getting fewer shots, Klay. It looks like something's going on.
But let's go back to the math, the simple math of, look, you lost Barnes, you lost Barbosa, you lost Ezeli, you lost others. That's 28 shots right there that are absent from this team. Guess who shoots only 20 times a game? One Kevin Durant. So if Durant could just go in there already before he even changes the game plan and said, I can take these shots and you guys won't even feel the difference. Klay knows that. That's why he's saying it.
5 seconds left in the game. Who takes a shot?
Who's open? That's how simple it'll be.
So
have you watched Team USA in their exhibition games?
That's different, though.
That's what this team is. It's a super team.
That's different, though. That's different. Team USA, you know what you're getting into.
But it is true. The Golden State Warriors, unlike any other team, really have options for that last shot.
Options.
Not a lot of teams have options.
But then last year they had 3 options. Now they have 4. It could be an issue. We're acting like Draymond is not an option. Draymond, my man Penis,
He's a scorer.
my man Snapchat. His nickname should be Snapchat.
It is
His
Snapchat.
nickname should be Snapchat. I tell you, you can take that from
What are you
me.
laughing at?
Two-tone.
Two-tone.
After leaving Denver, oh, Lord. Brock Osweiler probably thought comparisons
That was my man here.
to a Hall of Fame quarterback was over, right? Wrong. New city, new dig, same old comparisons. We will explain.
Oh, man. Sports Nation, I think we're still on.
Sports Nation is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Welcome back to Sports Nation, presented by Toyota.
Welcome back. Time to talk a little NFL. Oh, yeah, with It's Gonna Be Me. That's NSYNC, kids. Look it up. In an interview with the Houston Chronicle, Brock Osweiler talked about what it was like working in the Texans offense under former Patriots offensive coordinator and current Texans head coach Bill O'Brien. Quote, they refer to Tom Brady a lot. With all due respect to Coach O'Brien and Coach Godsey, I've told them I'm going to be me. I'm not here to be a puppet, if you will. I'm going to be who I am and believe in what I bring to the table every day. This is exactly what you were talking about before.
Get him, Merriman.
But Brock Osweiler?
I don't like player comparisons. I just hate them. And I understand that you coach Tom Brady, one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback ever. But every time I make a good or bad play, don't bring up Tom Brady's name. Don't tell me how Tom Brady's studying habits. Well, oh, by the way, Tom Brady used to be in here at 6:58 every morning. You should be here at 6:58. So after a certain point in time, it's like, Coach, like let me be me. Let me do me. If you keep bringing up Tom Brady, how will you ever? You can't match what he did on the field.
But what if you is lousy and they're just trying to give you inspiration to be better?
I get it, but you're not helping me. I make a bad play. Hey, Tom Brady would have made that play. I don't want to hear. Don't tell me Tom Brady would have made that play out there.
Like, you can understand their spirit because he's Tom Brady was their prized possession. So of course you want to always keep that trophy and that man on the wall. However, when you're talking to me, Coach, let's not limit ourselves by what you've seen. But how about have some faith in me and seeing what I could become? Right. And if Tom Brady would have done the same thing that these coaches are preaching, Tom Brady would have said, if I could be like Drew Bledsoe. And no shots at Drew Bledsoe, who was a great quarterback, but he surpassed him. Exactly. So guess what? Don't you limit me, you're wrong. Don't you limit me by what you've seen, because Tom Brady became more than that. And last thing, let's say this. At the same time in their career, when they both were drafted, one Brock Osweiler had more talent and expectations placed on him than even Tom Brady did. So there's something in there you can stir up and make great.
But let's fast forward 4 or 5 years. Let's say Brock Osweiler has a pretty decent run. All of a sudden, he's not going to be so bothered by these Tom Brady comparisons, right? He just wants to establish something.
You know what Brock is telling him? Yo, I got a $72 million contract. I don't want to be compared to anybody, okay? When you talk about coming in there at 6:58 in the morning, he was messing with the Bulls at 6:54 in the morning. So leave it alone. But that's that $37 million guarantee talking. And Brock is like, yo, I'm the big Brock on this street, okay? I'm the guy here. I'm sick and tired of standing behind other people's shadows and Mannings and Brady's. Let me do my thing.
Yeah, I mean, you need that kind of freedom and that kind of latitude to be exactly who you can become. And the coach should know that. Coach shouldn't be compared to Belichick. What if Belichick
would have made that call? Yeah. He wouldn't have messed that one up.
Yeah, why are you coming in here dressed? You should be coming in here dressed like a homeless person. Belichick comes in here dressed like he escaped the homeless shelter.
I'm just saying, if this doesn't pan out, this is going to be a quote we come back to. That's all I'm saying.
You know it.
It probably won't pan out. Let's be honest.
And that's what I'm saying. Try not to be negative today. Dodgers and Yasiel Puig have had a pretty rocky relationship over the years, and it seems as though L.A. finally moving on from their outfielder. Here's Puig's agent on his current situation. The club informed me and the player understood clearly that they were making every effort to trade him, and that if they were unable to come to terms with another club on a trade and successful in acquiring another outfielder, that he likely would be demoted. He gets paid a lot of money, Marcellus.
Yeah, he does.
And we have the benefit, I suppose, of being on the West Coast, so we have been here from the minute Yasiel Puig sort of took over this town. This is insane, this fall from grace.
It is. And you know, being candid, I know Puig, and I saw from day one what they did to him. They beat him up. They broke him, and now they're trying to trade away. When I'm talking about the Dodgers organization, I'm talking about that in an alignment with the media and those gatekeepers of baseball's culture. So now all of a sudden you want to trade away the scraps that you have just damned for the last few years, and nobody wants to buy it because you guys have let in-house problems become public knowledge just because a lot of the people of the culture wanted to say he's not playing baseball the right way. What did that really mean in code? And we know what it was. This was a raw talent who actually played the game better when he was not coached in the American baseball culture. And as soon as they got their hands on him, and as soon as they tried to tell him, you need to play this way, we saw his numbers decline every single year.
Was it play or behave a certain way?
It was both. It was both. It was playoff games when they were trying to tell him to come in, and he trusted in his athletic ability, but instead that resistance made a ball drop or him not hitting the right throw or the cutoff man. Things like that, as you know, Merriman, if you got a certain natural play and a natural move, and coach says, it works for you,
overcoaching,
but we don't want to do it, all of a sudden the overcoaching kicks in and you start to lose.
Is this not like marrying a stripper and then getting mad she's still a stripper?
No,
like you met her at the strip club, she was doing that.
No, this is way worse.
Why do you want to change it?
This is way worse. No, you know what? That's a good point. This is way worse.
Just saying, he was.
You know what I hope that Puig doesn't happen to Puig. I hope he's able to bounce back from this because coaches and the organization sometimes can kill a player's career. And I'm not just saying the way they play the game, but this is a hard. If you go back to the minor league and guys, your teammates and the fans and you're on the team and you're going as being up here on the mountain and now they're sending you all the way back. it can crack your ego. It can send you backwards as a player. So if you can't bounce back emotionally, if you can't bounce back mentally, this can alter a young talented guy's career, and you hope that you don't see something like this happen.
Let me add to that. You've seen this in the organization. We've seen it in the league. When they don't make you, and that could mean a lot of things, they want to break you. And that's what's happening to Puig right now. They couldn't construct him in the mirror image they wanted.
Right.
And all of a sudden, now he's a broken piece.
That's terrible, man. That's terrible.
I know.
But the stripper, marrying the stripper, that's, yo.
Back to the NFL.
And this is still worse.
Like you know? Oh, Amari Cooper, a pretty successful rookie season in the NFL. When asked about the biggest difference between NFL defensive backs and those he played against in the SEC, he had the following to say. The talent level, to me, probably is about the same coming from the SEC, but NFL DBs are smarter, so it makes them better. All right, we've talked about this quote all morning amongst the crew here. What is he saying?
Something ignorant that I don't understand.
He's saying smarter makes them better, and so obviously
But the talent's the same.
What are you talking about, my man?
Doesn't remember day one of training camp when you walked in there and you were a fully grown man already making money and making Pro Bowls and all pros, and you saw that dude that came from the SEC, and you saw him on day one, you're like, boy, you got a lot to learn and a lot to grow into this position. Physically, you don't even have your man bones, your man strength. This is that same dumb argument that we hear all the time. Alabama could beat Tennessee. Alabama could beat Tennessee last year.
We do that every year, by the way.
Let me show him a thing or two. I get it. I understand the talent level. I think at any big school, the SEC or Big Ten, I mean, you go anywhere, the talent is going to be up there. But it's always how smart can you transition from college to the pros. So it doesn't really make any sense to me. I get what he's trying to say, but that's what separates a lot of these guys. Think of all the All-Americans when in college, the first team, second team, they all everything, and they get to the pros, and you don't hear about them anymore. They can't transition. So if you're going to an SEC school, you're going to a Big Ten school, whatever it is, and you're going to play, of course you can play in the NFL. You just can't transition mentally to that game.
Wouldn't the logic be that if the talent was equal, that every single player out of the SEC that wanted to play still would be in the NFL?
Would be in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at Alabama or any of the great schools, at most you got 10 guys who could make it to the league. Guess what on every NFL team is? 53 of them dudes. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? You're not getting picked in my fantasy draft, Amari.
That's a threat.
Yeah, no, that's a promise. That's a promise. Okay?
I feel bad for Cooper.
I skip over you now, Coop.
We'll be back. Oh, but first, a little Stephen Colbert.
Speaking of things that happen every 4 years and are filled with poop, the 2016 Rio Games start on Friday, and there are some concerns about the games. Athletes who have to swim in the heavily polluted Guanabara Bay have been warned by health experts to keep their mouths closed in the toxic stew. Okay, swimmers, mouth closed, all right? Or swim with your head out of the water. I can't wait to see who takes home the gold in the Olympic doggy paddle.
Welcome back. Time for Pulse of the Nation, presented by Toyota. We have winners, we have losers. Let's try to get them in there. First up, highlights from last night's trouncing of Nigeria. Way to go, Team USA. 44-point blowout, lots and lots of dunks. At this point, is this even enjoyable? I feel like these are just so one-sided, I don't even care.
No, this is pathetic. This is a joke.
Right?
Let me get some run. Let me get some burn.
We good.
I want a couple of minutes. You wouldn't watch that if he was on Team USA.
Hell no.
Oh, Nigeria for 5 minutes.
Come on, Marcelo.
For 5 minutes.
Let me get Nigeria for 5 minutes. I can do that.
I'd watch it.
All right, saw Christian Laettner out there.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
I still hate Laettner.
I'm still mad at him.
Loser, mile time. Usain Bolt, considered the world's fastest man, but his agent said he's never actually run a mile, or at least they have a timed one. Do you buy that?
Oh, yeah, you know me. Track and field is my favorite sport. I trained on it, did it all my entire life till I got too fat. Here's the thing. You got to train exactly to replicate what you do. And you're not going to train forever if you're not going to run forever. It's just that simple.
Yeah, why run a mile?
And Marcellus, I don't know if you heard this quote, a fast horse can run fast, but he can't run long. That was me all the time. After 60 yards, I'm going to pull up. I got nothing else for you. I can get you a quarterback in 10 yards. At 15, that's it. I mean, I gave it all I got.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, I know exactly
that time I seen him go.
Clippers, Ryan Fitzpatrick showing off his hair and beard.
Yo.
Sweet, sweet Norma Jean. What is happening right now?
Listen, I got no problem with it. I wanted to say right now.
You don't?
Fitzpatrick has the best hairline in sports besides
that's fair.
Paul George. he should rock. Yo, Paul George has got like, yo, him and Fitzpatrick should. They got great hair. I have no problem with it, and I don't think he could afford a haircut up until last week. He wasn't getting paid.
Yeah,
do you think he's got a lot of money now? He's got a lot of money.
They were trying to jerk him, so now he's probably getting a haircut.
His hairline is like.
Oh, beautiful.
I say it's like, oh, look at that.
I think I look beautiful.
Like Castaway.
I like Wolverine.
I think you look cool. Loser amenities. So our Olympic correspondent, Andrew Bogut, officially not impressed with the village amenities in Rio. That's him fixing a shower curtain so the place doesn't flood. That's nice. He also mentions needing to sleep standing up because, as you can imagine, the beds are subpar. Do we feel sorry for him?
No, he was forewarned if the conditions were going to be bad. It's a third world country. Stop beating up on Brazil, because I loved it when I went down there and visited before.
Really? Why don't we go down there?
Well, I'm not going right now, and he shouldn't win either.
You didn't say nothing like that.
But you know what? If you knew those were going to be the conditions, you get down there, shut up, and stop complaining. That's not the reason why you
ship your old bed.
Complain away.
Oh, that's going to be the reason they lose the USA?
Ship your old bed down there.
Oh, that's the reason why y'all couldn't beat USA.
I'm not taking the pay cut.
Stop me. 4 takes, a shoot, 3 takes.
Good morning. First take on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here with us. Max Kellerman, Molly Karam here in Studio E in Bristol. Also joining us to my right, Brick. You might know him from shows like General Hospital. Sometimes he appears as a regular on First Take. Stephen A. Smith, the actor in the house in L.A. How we doing?
What's going on? How you doing?
Hey, listen, don't get gangster on us now, Stephen A., just because you play one on TV.
That's only for General Hospital. That's why I'm out here today filming, filming the scene. I have a recurring role on the show, so obviously they wanted me out here, and that is why I am here.
We get it. Big time.
I'll be back tomorrow.
We can't wait. Meanwhile, we are going to have a great show today. Coming up later, Heisman frontrunner and Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson will be stopping by. A lot to discuss with him. But we begin with Charles Barkley, the Hall of Famer, recently weighing in on the police shootings across the country, saying the blame should be spread around when it comes to the black community and its relationship with the police. He defended his comments yesterday on Bleacher Report Radio. Take a listen.
As I've said before, and some people criticize me, and I told them to kiss my because I can. We in the black community, we need the cops. Cops are important. They're very significant. We as black people got to do a better job of policing ourselves. The cops have made some mistakes. I think everybody has to admit that. But we just can't, as black people, every time something go wrong, just say it's the cops' fault. We have did some damage to our own neighborhoods, and we've got to do better in that aspect. But we need the cops. They're important. If it wasn't for the cops, we'd be living in the wild, wild west. Yeah. But it's not as simple as that. It's always the cops' fault. We as black people have made some mistakes. We got to do better. We got to do a better job of policing ourselves. There's no right or wrong answer. That's the one thing about being black. Black people only like you when you say what they want you to say. But I've been in that game a long time, so that doesn't faze me. I'm a big boy. I can handle the heat.
Stephen A. Barkley with strong, candid comments. What was your reaction to what he said?
My reaction with him, about what he had to say is that he's 1,000% correct. And I stand completely with him with exactly what he said. There is no doubt that when we consider, the things that have transpired, the shootings of the police officers in Dallas, what happened in Baton Rouge and other places, there's no excuse for that. And those individuals that exacted crimes against police officers should be brought to justice. Obviously, anybody that does something like that to a police officer, that's exactly what should happen. Nobody inside or outside the black community would ever sit up there with any degree of sense and condone violence against the police officers. Let's make sure we're clear about that. We don't condone it. Black folks, I think one of the things that don't get said enough about black people is that black folks put black folks behind bars all the time. When you have defendants that come before our justice system and are judged by, a jury of their peers, black people, by and large, put some black folks in jail now. So it's not like, folks from the black community should be excoriated like some outside of the black community will try to do by saying, folks are being given a pass or anything like that. Black community doesn't operate that way. You do the crime, you need to do the time. And if you're not doing the time, it's because you're paying an even stiffer price. That's the way that we are. That's the way that, by and large, we've conducted ourselves as a community for centuries. And that's never going to change. But that doesn't absolve any of us from what Charles Barkley Barkley had to say. He's 1,000% correct, and I agree with every word that he said and then some in terms of what people can kiss if they disagree with him or me in this particular situation, because what he's highlighting is the fact that, you know, you don't sit up there and gloss over police brutality. When it happens, it needs to be called upon, it needs to be addressed, and we need to address it with the fervor, the tenacity that it deserves. But at the same time, we have a bigger problem in the black community, and that's black on black crime. I remember when Max's before you got here, Skip and I were doing the show, and Spike Lee came in to promote his movie. And when he promoted his movie, he was incredibly ecstatic that I brought up the shootings in Chicago. Memorial Day weekend, 69 people shot. In terms of murders in the streets of Chicago, 2,900 shootings. Overall, approximately, it was like 468 murders in the streets of Chicago. That was up from 412 the year before. This year alone, 2016. It's not even September yet. We still got about 4 months to go in this year. There have been 371 murders or shootings in the streets of Chicago. You know, this is a problem. And Isaiah Thomas, a Hall of Famer, does an exemplary job just reaching out, trying to do what he can to bring folks together to diminish and dissipate the amount of shootings and killings that have been taking place. But it's something that we don't hear enough about. That's black on black crime, for the most part. Now, we could sit up there and wax eloquently all day about remedies to the situation. We could talk about what needs to be done. We can point the finger of blame. We can look at a system. We can look at we can look at a lot of things. We can look at people outside of the black community and sort of look at them and say, well, what did you have to do with that from a systemic perspective in terms of your contribution to what really, really diminishes and decimates our community? We could look at all of those things. But at the end of the day, the ultimate responsibility falls upon folks within the black community to step up and do what we can to quell this violence. We made a lot of noise about CP3 and Carmelo Anthony and Dwayne Wade and LeBron James speaking out. They spoke out very, very eloquently about it because they said the violence has to stop on both sides. That's essentially what Charles Barkley was saying. It's just that he emphasized more so the black on black crime because the numbers say that more of us are suffering at the hands of our own folks than we are by the hands of the police. That's the reality. Now, I'm not an expert on this. You know, I listen to a lot of people. I listen to Joe Madison on Sirius XM radio every morning, every chance I get, because I think he's absolutely phenomenal. And he's certainly far more educated than me. Karen Hunter, another one. Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, Warren Ballantyne, you know, Mark Lamont Hill, and so many others that do a tremendous job in the black community of really shining a light on the problems that ail us and what we need to do to remedy that situation. But having said all of that, although there are those that would disagree with Barkley to some degree, I don't understand how you can in this particular situation. The excuses have got to stop, and we have to stop looking at people like Barkley and getting on him because he's willing to say what most people out there aren't willing to say. Police brutality is a problem. It definitely needs to be addressed. Black Lives Matter and others are right to bring attention to that. But an even bigger problem permeating the black community is black on black violence. And anybody who disagrees with Barkley in terms of what he has to say, I could just echo his sentiments about what they can kiss because they're full of it. This is a big, big problem, and it needs to be addressed. And I completely 1,000% applaud Barkley for everything that he said on this particular matter. He is absolutely right.
First, I want to say I'm glad you brought up Chicago, Stephen A., because what's happening in Chicago is a humanitarian crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis. It's an American tragedy, and not nearly enough attention is being paid toward it. And this is what the idea of Black Lives Matter is about. It's not, philosophically, we're not just talking about police brutality against black victims. We're talking about the fact that black life seems to be cheap in this country, and that if this were happening to a population that wasn't black, what's happening in Chicago, you could say, well, it's black on black crime. Still, the victims are people of color, are people. You know, those lives matter too, and it's being underreported. I'm glad you brought it up. Whenever someone like Charles Barkley brings up publicly the idea of personal or communal responsibility for behavior, as opposed to institutional or societal responsibility. In other words, personal responsibility himself, communal responsibility, in this case, black people, versus institutional responsibility. That could be the court systems, it could be law enforcement, it could be the media. What you will find is those of a progressive bent will tend to attack someone if they're talking about personal or communal responsibility, and those of a conservative bent will tend to attack someone if they're talking about societal or institutional responsibility. The fact is, both points of view are instructive. They are not mutually exclusive. It's perfectly fair for Barkley to bring up the idea of personal or communal responsibility as part of the formula that goes toward addressing a larger problem. I think the reason that some would have a heightened sense of this right now, if they have a negative reaction to what Barkley said, is the idea of, let's take again philosophically, Black Lives Matter, in parentheses, 2. Black Lives Matter, 2. So when people say things like, well, all lives matter, people from the Black Lives Matter will say, well, wait a minute, no, you're missing the point. Parenthetically, it's implied, too. We matter too. And so when someone tends to or will focus responsibility on personal or communal behavior, others might say that right now is not the issue. I agree with you. It's a legitimate point of view. It very much belongs in the discussion, and it's not mutually exclusive with the other point of view.
You're absolutely right. But let me say this. First of all, I completely agree with you. That's the only issue. That was a big issue that Black Lives Matter and those in support of it had with me, because I got on them for booing former presidential candidate Martin O'Malley out of Maryland because he said all lives matter, and he got booed. And I'm like, why are you booing a presidential candidate? He's got to cater to all of America, not just black America. Maybe if it was Black Lives Matter too, it would have been better. But then you had Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, who blessed me with his presence to come on my show and really explain what it was about, because the reason why the 2 parenthetically isn't there, as you would say, is simply because you have a black community out there that feels like they've never mattered. And so because of that, because we as a black community, by and large, throughout history, have never felt like we truly mattered, we feel the emphasis to omit the 2.
And Stephen A., that's the reason I wanted to commend you for bringing up Chicago. Because when you think about it, people can try to drive a wedge and say, well, on the one hand, we're talking about police behavior institutionally and systemic kind of problems. And on the other hand, we're talking about, well, black-on-black crime, for example, in Chicago. But philosophically, the idea is the way Chicago gets underreported and the ongoing issue of police violence all have to do with the idea that black life seems cheap throughout the history of this country.
But this is where I wanted to go, because one of the things that Barkley is going to take heat for is that folks in our community don't believe that we should air our dirty laundry. It's like, okay, if this is going on within our community, why are we speaking about it? Because crime exists everywhere. There's just as significant white-on-white crime as it is black-on-black crime. And they're right to make those points. The problem is, from a numbers game, our community is in danger of being an endangered species. The numbers game, when you consider the fact that the Latino community is not a dominant minority. They make up 17% of the population. The black community used to be in that position. Now the number is at 13%. If you look at the U.S. Census Bureau reports, it speculates that by the year of 2039 that the African-American population will only increase by about 1%, but the Latino population will increase almost double. Well, I'm sorry, excuse me, we're not giving birth, we're not having children. What are you projecting? You're either projecting we're going to die, or you're projecting we're going to be incarcerated. So if you are Barkley, if you are Stephen A. Smith, if you are Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, if you are an abundance of individuals out there highly concerned about our community, and you look at it from a numbers standpoint, you recognize the importance to speak on these matters. I don't sit up here and enjoy talking about this. I'm quite sure Barkley doesn't enjoy talking about this. We don't want to sit up here and talk about black-on-black crime like it's so prevalent, but the reality is It is.
Hey, Stephen,
and
I
it has to
want
be addressed. And then not only that, last point.
Yeah.
CNN. I'll never forget this as long as I live. I'm watching Bill O'Reilly on Fox News a couple of months ago, and he had two African Americans from Chicago that are elder statesmen, educated, intelligent, the whole bit. They were on his show calling for the National Guard to come into Chicago because of how bad things have gotten. And the reason why Bill O'Reilly did the subject is because all the networks were talking about, you remember that story with the kid that fell into the pond with the gorilla?
Yep.
And the gorilla was dragging it around the water, and how that made more news than the murders or the shootings.
Not only did it make more news, but it was a small black child whose life was endangered, according to the experts, and yet people were mad about shooting the gorilla. Now, but I want to bring this back to I want to bring this back to Barkley's original point. On its face, what he said is uncontroversial. Of course, we need police. The black community or impoverished communities especially need police. Police need to behave properly. But of course you need police. You also need traffic lights. And as the president made the case in the previous election, you need meat inspectors too. I mean, like, these are social services and societal necessities. Of course, police are necessary. And as you mentioned at the top, Stephen A., obviously violence towards police or anyone is unacceptable.
Absolutely. It's totally unacceptable. But the thing about it is, again, I'm going to close it out by saying this. We don't want to put it as pragmatic as I'm about to, but it's necessary. It's also a numbers game. Yes, there's white on white crime. Yes, there are white people killing white people every day. That is absolutely true. The flip side to it is that if you make up 66% of the population and those numbers aren't dissipating dramatically, that's entirely different than when it happens in the black community and the numbers are dwindling. You got to think about this. Think about this presidential election that's going on here. OK, one of the things that you consistently hear so much about is immigration. The reason why you're hearing about black folks at all in this election is because of Black Lives Matter in terms of the attention that they brought to police brutality. Outside of that, the dominant narrative has been immigration or illegal immigration, whatever way you want to term it. Well, why is that? It's because the Latino population is making up 17% of the American population and growing, and as a result, their votes are going to count. Whereas the numbers as it pertains to the African American community are not as significant as they once were, are not as significant as it is in the Latino community. Therefore, even though our votes count too, and it's a priority, and by the way, every damn body needs to get out there and vote. Everybody needs to vote, especially if you're black, considering the sacrifices that have been made for our right to vote. The bottom line is that in terms of it counting, as much as their votes count, they have more numbers. And as a result, politicians are going to pay attention to what they want more so than what we want, because while other people are growing, we appear to be killing ourselves. And that is a problem.
Stephen A., again, I know you said earlier you don't enjoy having these conversations, but one thing I love about doing this show is that we don't shy away from these kind of controversial issues, and I appreciate the conversation that you guys just had. Richard Sherman also does not. He had some strong comments on this subject. We will share those with you later and what he thinks the NFL needs to do. But up next, moving on, Stephen A. calls them the accident waiting to happen. This year, they are happening before the season. It's unfortunate. I'll explain after the break. Stay with us.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Damn, y'all just commentate from the side. I'm like, oh, God. Oh.